Hi, I'm Simon Canton, and this is the nitty-gritty of writing a novel. In this episode, I'd like to talk about titles. Titles are just about the most difficult thing to come up with for a novel. There are a few things you want from a title. It needs to convey your genre, be interesting, convey your mood, and be short. I've a few tricks that I use to come up with titles, but really I just keep generating titles until I find one that I like. As an example, I'm going to take a short story I'm planning on writing about a social worker and a drunk driver who killed someone. This is a serious drama and won't have much, if any, comedy in it, so I need a title that conveys serious drama. The first thing I'm going to do is search for quotes involving social work and drunk driving. So, as you can see here, I've got about a dozen quotes that I've found online, having to do with social work and to do with drink driving. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all of the filler words. So anything that isn't a noun, a verb, or an interesting adverb or adjective, I'm just going to eliminate. So that gives me this, which is a list of all of the words that I think have some meaning. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through and I'm going to start combining any words that I think might make an interesting title. This is just a brainstorming kind of thing, so anything that might make a title is fine. I'm also going online onto a website that mixes up these words so that I can then see if there's any other combinations that are interesting. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to also go to that text mixer website. So after I've gone through all of these words and combined them in as many different ways as I can, I end up with this list, which is about maybe 30 different titles. I've just combined nouns and verbs and things together to create something that might make a title. This isn't filtered in any way, so for example, the story is about drink driving and social work, so Get Slammered wouldn't exactly be an appropriate title, as would Nutscatter wouldn't exactly work either. But this is just a brainstorming kind of thing, so I just write down anything that comes to mind. So the next thing I do is then I eliminate any of those titles that aren't appropriate to the genre I'm writing in. So the genre is serious drama, so this is the list of about 10 titles that fit being a serious drama. And then the next thing I do is I expand that list by putting in all the filler words and doing variations on the different titles. So for example, I had The Knocking Door, that becomes Knock on the Door. It doesn't matter if they're not as interesting. Again, this is unfiltered, this is just variations. So this then gives me a longer list. There's maybe, I don't know, 25 titles there. And the next thing I'm going to do is then go through and eliminate them again based on anything that doesn't seem appropriate for the genre or interesting or appropriate for the mood. So that gives me another 10 titles again. So then what I'm going to do then is on my own I'm going to reorder that list into the order I think is the most interesting. Which gives me the exact same list, except for I've added one in that just struck me. The Lie Down became They Lie Down. I just thought it might be an interesting title. So The Knocking Door I think is the most interesting title for me. But the next thing I'm going to do is go and get a second opinion. So I'm going to go and ask my wife and my son what they think is the best title. Another thing I should mention is when I went from the expanded list to the second short list, I ran all of these titles through Amazon to see if there was another book with the same title. Because another thing you don't want to do is end up with a title that is exactly the same as another book that's out there. Unless you can't possibly avoid it. There's no legal reason why you can't use the same title, as long as you're not trying to imitate the other book and use its popularity to gain sales. So if you just happen to be called, one of my books, for example, is called The Bite of Monsters. There's another book called The Bite of Monsters, but I'm not trying to imitate that book. I just happened to come up with the same title, and I liked the title, so I went ahead with it anyway. But wherever you can, you want to have an original title. So I ran this list through and got rid of any that were duplicates. So after asking my wife and son what they thought was the most interesting, they said that these four, the first three there and the last one, were the ones they liked best. My wife liked The Value of Undying and The Undoing of Love, and my son liked Premature Values and A Social Mind best. And then I still like The Knocking Door. I think that's the most interesting, because it's intriguing, I think. But yeah, so then I'm going to eliminate all of the titles and see what I end up with. Try and get the most interesting and most relevant to the story. So the first one I eliminate is A Social Mind. And the reason I eliminate that is that I just don't think it's that interesting. I think if I saw a book called A Social Mind, it wouldn't really make me want to find out what that was. So I eliminate that. The Knocking Door, I really like that title, but it sounds a little like it's a horror or something like that. So I've eliminated that one as well. It's also not particularly relevant to the story. Premature Values, to me, sounds like it's a legal thriller. So that one's also out. The Undoing of Love. This isn't a love story. And on that title, I would be worried that people would think that it was somehow a love story gone wrong or something like that. So that one goes out too. So that leaves me with The Value of Undying. That title fits the story, which is about coming back from disaster, and should spark some interest in the reader. I hope it's been interesting watching me come up with a title. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.